Every day I wake up and stare at the stark contrast between my homeland and the so-called developed world, wondering why nations like the United States, Australia, or New Zealand flourish while my country, like so many others across Africa, continues to wrestle with poverty, conflict, and stagnation. People offer easy answers. Maybe it's malnutrition, maybe we're lazy, maybe it's the lingering shadows of slavery, racism, and colonialism. But I've come to believe the truth lies deeper. In a global system designed to keep some nations perpetually dependent, perpetually exploited, international aid, often celebrated as generosity, is in reality a trap, a way to sustain a cycle where money flows in, but real empowerment flows out. For decades, I flirted with ideologies once drawn to communism, thinking the path to liberation was revolution and collective ownership, only to realize that what we truly lacked was neither revolution nor charity, but freedom infused with energy, ingenuity, and determination that could be harnessed by our own hands. This realization crystallized in April 2025, when three West African nations, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, quietly but boldly signed an agreement that shook the world, a high-speed railway linking their capitals, built entirely without a single cent from the IMF, World Bank, or Western powers that have long dictated the fate of our continent. No press conferences, no staged photo ops, no foreign experts, just a simple contract, a signature, and a resolute promise. We will rise by our own labor, ingenuity, and vision. This is not just infrastructure, it is defiance, a statement that Africa is capable of charting its own destiny, and a vivid reminder that true development does not arrive as a handout. It is forged in the courage to claim it ourselves. This is not just a railway, it is the birth of an entirely new system, a beating nervous system for the heart of West Africa, designed not simply to move people but to channel energy, power, and opportunity across borders that have long confined them. For the first time, a railway is not a tool to extract resources for distant powers, but a means to connect communities on their own terms, to decide where the tracks lead and who benefits. Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger are building a high-speed corridor that links Ouagadougou, Bamako, and Niamey, but around it rises a larger ecosystem of bridges, modern stations, digital signaling, freight hubs, and even a highway running in parallel, every element orchestrated to give these countries control over their own development. Landlocked and long reliant on unstable truck routes, distant ports, and foreign capital, they are reclaiming agency, crafting a route that is a direct answer to decades of isolation and dependency. This is infrastructure as revolution, a shift from serving the needs of foreign extractors to empowering local markets, farmers, traders, and industries. A tomato farmer in eastern Niger can now get his produce to major markets in Bamako within hours instead of days, reducing waste and raising income. A fabric merchant in Ouagadougou can access textiles from Mali in a single day, sparking trade and economic circulation previously unimaginable. This railway is more than tracks and trains. It is a manifesto of autonomy, unity, and vision, a declaration that West Africa can design, build, and control its own future. It transforms geography into opportunity, distance into connection, and isolation into collaboration, redefining what development means for an entire region. It is a blueprint for the Sahel, a statement that real progress comes not from foreign handouts or imposed strategies, but from harnessing local energy, ingenuity, and determination to reshape the destiny of nations for their people first. Share this story, not as a simple tale of infrastructure, but as a celebration of self-reliance, African ingenuity, and the bold step toward an empowered future that the continent has long been denied. What once seemed impossible, the seamless flow of goods, resources, and opportunity across borders, is now becoming the new normal, and that is just the beginning. The story of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger goes far beyond steel tracks and trains. It is a story of financial courage and autonomy. These nations did not wait for approval, handouts, or aid from Western institutions like the IMF or World Bank. Instead, they relied on their own economic strength, establishing a regional investment bank fully owned and operated by African countries themselves. A bold move that reshapes not only how infrastructure is financed but also who controls the future. Using their own industries, gold, uranium, cotton, energy, they turned resources that were historically exported for foreign profit into tools for domestic development, empowering their citizens and fueling homegrown growth. But this railway is not merely about economics. It is a strategic instrument of freedom and security. By connecting agricultural hubs, industrial centers, and mineral-rich zones, it allows these countries to reclaim control over territories long left vulnerable to armed groups, foreign influence, and hostile forces. Rapid transport becomes a means of consolidating state presence, asserting sovereignty, and restoring stability, while also enabling commerce to thrive. In doing so, these nations send a profound message to the world. This is Africa taking ownership of its destiny, charting a course that rejects dependence on external powers, international aid, or imposed solutions. This railway, this network of investment, this declaration of self-determination is more than infrastructure. It is a bold, unapologetic statement that Africa can rise, develop, and secure its future on its own terms. Leveraging its resources, talent, and vision, it is a roadmap for independence, a testament to resilience, and a clarion call for a continent ready to stand tall and build its destiny with its own hands. Yet this is only the beginning. Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger have proven they can take charge of their own destiny, and even more importantly, they have illuminated a path for the entire continent, a path that stretches beyond economics to politics, security, and solidarity. When this high-speed railway is completed, it will do more than connect capitals. It will become a living symbol of recovery, unity, and African empowerment, cutting not only across fields, mines, and industrial hubs, but also through the mindset of people long conditioned to wait for Western approval or aid. Every station, every kilometer of track, will stand as a declaration that development can be homegrown, self-determined, and resilient, a tangible reminder that Africa need not be shackled by conditional loans or external dependencies. The railway is both infrastructure and ideology, a strategic tool connecting governments with citizens, reinforcing stability in regions long fractured by conflict, insurgency, and foreign influence. It creates a coherent economic and political space, where goods, services, and people can circulate freely, while enabling these countries to assert sovereignty, secure borders, and build long-term resilience. Beyond transport, it is a leap towards health, demonstrating that Africa can harness its own resources, gold, uranium, cotton, energy, and its own ingenuity to finance and construct transformative projects through a regional investment bank, breaking free from the cycle of dependency. The Sahel and surrounding regions, often plagued by instability, now see a blueprint for coordinated growth, political cohesion, and security, showing that infrastructure can be both an engine of economic development and a pillar of national control. In taking this bold step, these nations have not only reshaped their own destinies but also lit a beacon for the continent, proving that Africa's future lies in its own hands, built on autonomy, resourcefulness, and the unyielding determination to define its own path. Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger have done more than build a railway. They have severed the chains of dependency on international financial institutions and laid down a rock-solid foundation for economic sovereignty. The regional investment bank they established is more than a financial tool. It is a shield against the intrusive strings of Western loans and aid, a mechanism that allows them to finance their development from their own wealth, uranium, cotton, and energy that for decades flowed out of the region without benefiting its people. This is a seismic shift in how African countries can manage their finances, offering a blueprint for self-sufficiency and independence that could inspire the entire continent. The railway itself is not merely a conduit for people and goods. It is a living slogan, a bold statement of confidence and determination. We can do it, and we will do it. It connects more than cities. It connects resolve, ambition, and vision, proving that nations can reclaim control over their own destiny without waiting for Western permission. Each train that travels these tracks symbolizes a break from dependency, a leap toward sustainable political and economic systems, and a reconnection of people to the power of self. With no World Bank or IMF strings attached, financed entirely by regional resources and managed by African hands, this railway becomes both a literal and symbolic artery of autonomy, demonstrating that infrastructure can be the cornerstone of sovereignty. It is a financial revolution, a strategic masterstroke, and a template for economic and political transformation, offering security, stability, and growth for the Sahel and beyond. This is not merely transport, it is the assertion of control over resources, governance, and the future itself, proving that Africa can chart its own course, build its own future, and stand united on the foundation of its own strength and ingenuity. Share this story to celebrate African self-determination and inspire a continent ready to take its destiny into its own hands. Unlike much of Africa's past infrastructure, which primarily funneled resources to developed nations, this high-speed railway is built to serve domestic needs, signaling a fundamental shift from resource extraction to regional production, consumption, and economic self. It will empower domestic industries, boost agricultural output, strengthen manufacturing, and turn border towns once peripheral into thriving trade hubs through direct rail connectivity. Beyond economics, the railway affirms African identity and culture. Stations, infrastructure, and stops will reflect the architectural and cultural heritage of each country, showing that modernity in Africa is not imported, but homegrown. But this project is more than transport. It is a tool for rebuilding trust, prosperity, and confidence after decades of dependency, poverty, and marginalization. By reducing travel time, cutting transport costs, and improving access to markets, it directly uplifts farmers, manufacturers, and citizens while reshaping the economy and the social fabric of the region. Yet the most profound impact lies in changing mindsets. It proves that, Africa can take charge of its destiny without waiting for Western approval, inspiring a new generation to dream and achieve what was once thought possible only for the world's most powerful nations. This railway embodies a broader narrative of independence, autonomy, and psychological liberation, demonstrating that sustainable development can be led by Africans, for Africans, while fostering closer regional cooperation and erasing borders as obstacles. It is not just infrastructure, it is a declaration of self-reliance, a lifeline for economic and social transformation, and a vivid symbol that Africa can and will stand on its own 2 feet. Share this story to celebrate the rebirth of an empowered Africa capable of building its future on its own vision, strength, and ingenuity. Countries that were once separated by invisible walls of poverty, conflict, and political fragmentation are now finding ways to connect as a unified whole, turning Africa from a patchwork of isolated economies into a fertile landscape where trade, transport, and industry serve the collective good of the region. What makes this transformation extraordinary is the way these nations finance their development, not through foreign aid, not through loans from global institutions, but through domestic resources, local industries, and the support of people and businesses within the region. This approach sends a bold message. Africa can build, develop, and thrive on its own terms. Beyond economics, the railway reshapes social and cultural dynamics, turning border towns and previously peripheral cities into hubs of innovation, learning, and cultural exchange, while research centers and universities along the route create opportunities for the next generation. Young Africans will see a future where they can stay in their homeland, pursue opportunities, and contribute to a continent they helped shape, rather than being forced abroad by poverty or lack of infrastructure. This railway is more than a transport system. It is a vision of a rising, self-reliant Africa, capable of charting its own path, building its own future, and inspiring neighboring countries to follow suit. By linking Sahelian nations like Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, the project establishes a scalable model of connectivity and cooperation, with the potential to extend across the continent to nations such as Ghana, Guinea, Chad, Ethiopia, and beyond, offering a blueprint for economic integration, political cohesion, and collective empowerment for Africa's entire future. The success of this high-speed railway is more than a remarkable infrastructure achievement. It is a blueprint for the future of Africa, a symbol of self-determination and regional cooperation. The pressing question, of course, is whether these nations can maintain their autonomy over time, and whether this model of collaboration can be scaled across the continent to create a strong, unified African bloc capable of facing global challenges. The answer is a confident yes, because Africa possesses the resources, talent, and willpower to take control of its own destiny. Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger are pioneering an era of self-reliance, showing that development does not need to be dictated by Western powers, loans, or conditional aid. By financing this railway entirely through domestic resources such as gold, uranium, cotton, and energy, they have broken free from the cycle of debt and external control, transforming these once exported commodities into tools for domestic growth, political influence, and regional security. Beyond construction, this project demonstrates a new approach to cooperation, connecting economies, sharing technology and expertise, and building infrastructure that strengthens not just one country, but the entire region. It is a lesson in sustainable development, a model for nations like Ghana, Guinea, Chad, and Ethiopia, and a testament to the power of self-financing, autonomy, and local initiative. Economically, politically, and socially, it represents a seismic shift, offering job creation, skills development, and economic empowerment for millions. As local workers are engaged in every stage from construction to operations, each train that runs along this route is more than transport. It is a moving declaration that Africa can rise on its own terms, harnessing its resources, ingenuity, and cooperation to build a future defined by freedom, prosperity, and collective strength. Using domestic labor rather than relying on foreign workers does more than save costs. It cultivates a skilled, capable workforce, empowering young people with technical know-how and experience that will serve the modern economy for decades. Education and training form the backbone of this transformation, with vocational schools, technical institutes, and training programs emerging along the railway, giving the next generation the skills to thrive in industry, technology, and transport. This is a crucial investment in people, the most valuable resource of any nation, ensuring that development grows not just from infrastructure but from human capacity. With the completion of the high-speed railway, the Sahel region gains an unprecedented chance to become a vibrant economic and commercial hub, where goods, agricultural products, minerals, and services move rapidly across borders, creating integrated markets with greater value and opportunity. Beyond logistics, the railway represents a profound shift in Africa's approach to development, embodying a strategy of connectivity, cooperation, and self-determination. Each kilometer of track binds countries not only economically, but politically and socially, linking cultures, communities, and shared values. While breaking down the barriers imposed by decades of foreign influence, Border cities once overlooked Foden, Psychos are poised to flourish as trade centers, stimulating local economies, expanding opportunities for small and medium-sized enterprises, reducing unemployment, and lifting communities out of poverty. This is not merely a transport project, but a holistic strategy for sustainable development, economic independence, and regional unity, demonstrating that Africa can harness its own strength, resources, and vision to create a resilient, prosperous, and connected future. Share this story to celebrate an Africa that builds, learns, and grows on its own terms, forging a path toward economic power, social cohesion, and self-reliant progress. This high-speed railway is far more than a transport project. It is a decisive step toward national security, sovereignty, and regional stability. By creating a modern connected network, the AES countries gain the ability to respond rapidly to emergencies, assert state presence in previously uncontrolled or conflict-prone areas, and reclaim strategic lands once dominated by rebel groups or foreign forces. This infrastructure strengthens governance, restores confidence in the state, and attracts investment, because development flourishes where security is assured. Equally important, the railway instills a profound sense of pride and self-confidence among the people of the city, especially younger generations, signaling that they no longer have to rely on Western aid or oversight to thrive. By financing, managing, and operating the project entirely with domestic resources, gold, uranium, cotton, and energy, the AES countries demonstrate financial autonomy and set a historic precedent for regional cooperation, cross-sector collaboration, and independent nation-building. This railway unites economies, cultures, and societies, building not just tracks but a foundation of resilience, self-reliance, and sustainable progress for future generations. Beyond the borders of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, it offers a model for all African nations, proving that shared vision, cooperation, and determination can transform the seemingly impossible into reality. Africa no longer needs external direction or aid. It needs only the unity, ambition, and ingenuity of its own people. This project signals a new era of African empowerment, one where countries take control of their destiny, protect their lands, and build a prosperous, self-sustaining future. Follow this journey to witness a continent redefining its future through courage, cooperation, and determination.